Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Cathy Nesbitt, worm advocate and founder of Cathy's Crawly Composters. Please enjoy Cathy Nesbitt. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I am super excited to chat today with Cathy Nesbitt, a worm advocate and founder of Cathy's Crawly Composters. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm super excited for you to join me today to chat about all things creativity. But before we get there, if you wouldn't mind just letting our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. Yes. So my working title is Cathy Crawly Laughing Bean Queen. And it's simple solutions for today's challenges. It's the 20th anniversary of my worm business. Selling worms by the pound for indoor composting.
Wow.
So we will talk about how I have had to be creative in order to get my message out, so that people weren't creeped out by the idea of these loving creatures. And I was afraid of them. So it's a fascinating, I think, story of how I've been able to create this wonderful life. And when I saw sustaining creativity, I thought it was about sustainability, the show, and it kind of is in my case.
Yeah. I love that. And what is the laughter component? How does that show up in what you do?
Yeah, the laughter yoga. So I'm a laughter yoga teacher. That helped me to stay in my worm business. You can imagine not everybody wants worms in the house for composting, and I will talk about how that all works. But it was about maybe 2012. I started my worm business in 2002. Maybe 2012, one more person said to me, "Ew, worms in the house." And I heard it that time. I'm located in Toronto, just north of, or in Canada, in Toronto, north of Toronto, largest city in Canada. And in 2002, our landfill closed and we started to export garbage to the US. 1,000 trucks a week at the beginning of the program. Wow. I mean, it's mind-blowing when you think about how not sustainable that initiative was. And I had a solution: indoor composting with worms. 6 million people in the Greater Toronto area, half living in condos, townhouses, without space to do outdoor composting. And so here I was, and I just started my business knowing that people needed what I had. And then I quickly realized, or not too quickly, it took me about 12 years to realize people didn't want what I had, but they need it, but they don't want it.
Sure.
And then laughter, right? So that one more person said, "Ew, worms in the house." And I heard it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Why do I care so much? And I really started to question everything. And I was at a business meeting and the first speaker introduced laughter yoga. And I was like, laughter yoga, what's that? I don't even do yoga. So laughter yoga is just laughing. How cool. Anyway, I started to attend a laughter club and I loved it. I got trained as a leader, got trained as a teacher, and it really helped me to stay in my worm business. That's my mission. It really is a huge thing: waste management, soil production, food security, all in a little worm. The challenge with a worm composting business is the worm.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. And it's not a gender thing. It's really fascinating. I actually have a psychology degree, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
fascinated by people.
Yeah. I
You know
too
what?
have a psychology degree, so I understand the fascination with people.
Right? What drives people? What motivates them? And I'm discovering that, here I am 20 years into my worm business, and I'm meeting all kinds of adults who were traumatized as children in the schoolyard or by a sibling with a worm after a rain or something. Somebody chased them around with a worm. So if you're traumatized as a child by something, you're certainly not looking to that as a solution.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For people who are unfamiliar with indoor composting, would you mind explaining a little bit about that process?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. I kind of forget, when you're in something for so long. So thank you for reeling me back. So yeah, this is the same idea as outdoor composting, and composting, just for anyone that's not familiar with composting, is just nature's way to look after our organic matter. So our food scraps from the kitchen, our yard waste, grass clipping, leaves,
Mhm.
those kind of materials. Either you have a composter or just a pile, and the microbes will break it down. That's outdoor. This is the
Mhm.
same idea. It's done inside, so it would be in a container, we'll say like a Rubbermaid tote or something. The worms require a carbon
Mhm.
nitrogen mix. So the carbon or bedding that we use is shredded paper. It could be leaves, straw, cardboard, but if you live in a condo, you might not have access to leaves. So shredded
Yeah.
paper is a great thing, or egg cartons. The paper egg cartons are a beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
then, so that's the carbon. The nitrogen is your food scraps. So your potato peels, your banana peels, coffee grounds, tea bags. So you mix in both of those. The worms eat it all, and their poop is the compost. That it's nutrient rich. Sorry if anyone's having dinner.
Yeah.
It's nutrient rich soil, so it's beautiful plant food. I do a lot of
Mhm.
school workshops, and I say to the kids, I'll hold up a bunch, like a handful of the worm compost, and I'll say, this is almost pure worm poo. And they'll go, ew. And I'll say, wait a minute, what if we call this black gold? Because it is, right? It's beautiful plant food. So when you say black
Yeah.
gold, they go, oh. So I say worm, if we say call it poo, ew, poo. But if we say black gold, wow, now it's valuable. All about words, right?
Marketing, creative marketing, right?
It's being creative with words. It's how we can help people understand something without the ick factor, like without thinking, ew, worms in my house. If we talk about the
Right.
benefit of it rather than the worms doing the work, because if you're afraid of worms, that's all you're seeing in your mind.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing what indoor composting is and about the worms. I'm so curious, when you think about creativity, and it sounds like you have a lot of creativity in your life, what does it mean to you to be creative?
To be creative means, for me, being able to bring an idea to people that they can't see before you got there. The
Mm.
idea was there, but I feel like, for me, my superpower is learning something and then explaining it in lay terms so people can understand. They go, oh, and they feel exactly what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
just goes right into their DNA. I really feel that's my superpower. And so yeah, so creativity is like, so with the worms, I'm still meeting people that haven't heard of it, but when I explain how it works, and the worms are kind of the original alchemists, and my passion, when you meet people that are passionate, their passion kind of, it just like, you just want to be them. You're just like, wow, oh, well, I'm afraid of worms. And it's about a 3-year sales cycle, by the way, to sell a pound of worms to somebody.
Fair.
Thank goodness for laughter. So laughter, and worms, especially during this cuckoo time, the laughter has really, it's helped me be more resilient, more creative, come up with better solutions. I had to transition online like everybody. Like, what the heck is happening? When I started laughter yoga, very fun. When people get trained as a laughter teacher, and laughter yoga is a real thing. It started so let me just introduce laughter yoga. It started in India by a medical doctor in 1995. And so the yoga part is the deep diaphragmatic breathing. So it's not doing yoga and laughing. There's gentle stretches and clapping and when moving around, but it's not yoga and laughing. The yoga part is the practice of the laughing. And, everyone's heard laughter is the best medicine. It's a global expression, in fact. So in order to get the benefits of laughter, we have to laugh. And it's the deep diaphragmatic laughter. It's not just, haha, laughing at a comedy or at a comedy club, because you're going to miss the next line. So it really is just, it's not jokes or comedy, because jokes are cultural, they're not going to be funny for everybody if they're about somebody. Right. So it's a beautiful thing. And the laughter really helped me to kind of just deal better, when we're stressed, as we're not breathing. We're not breathing properly. We're breathing a little bit shallow breathing.
Sure.
We're still breathing. But blood, lymph, oxygen leaves our brain because we've gone into fight, flight, or freeze. Now we're in stress mode. So we really just need to get out of stress. That's what laughter does for us. When we're laughing full on, we're ha 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 ha, we're expelling. So at a certain point you have to and then oxygenate your beautiful brain. So our brain requires 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body as an operating principle. So when we're stressed, we're not breathing properly. Our body's not getting what it needs. For sure, our brain isn't. And I love to use the example of keys. Ever lost your keys? Right? You're flapping around. Where are my keys? I got to go. And you're yelling at everybody. I don't know how you are, but that's what happens to me. Okay.
Sure.
Right. So when that happens, you just your brain is literally being deprived of oxygen. It can't help you. It knows where your keys are, but it can't help you because there's no oxygen. So you need to stop in your tracks, take a deep breath in, laugh it off, apologize to everybody, and you'll find your keys.
I love that. What a great tip. Laughter can help you find things.
Right.
That's amazing.
It opens up your brain, just allows the creativity to flow in. You can see things. Oh, yes. So beautiful.
I love it. I mean, it sounds like before you were introduced to the laughter yoga, there were some challenges. And then you've spoken about the transition on to the online with your worm business. But what are some of the challenges that you have faced, and how has creativity helped you navigate them?
Yeah, I would say again, the laughter has really helped me with overcoming the ick factor. I didn't realize at the beginning, I'm an empath, I'm super sensitive, I'm worm-like. In that I don't have a tough coating, right? They don't have any bones or any structure. If you step on a worm, they get hurt. If you say mean things to me, I get hurt, and maybe it's shallow, or maybe it's, I was always told you're too sensitive, grow a thicker skin. These are impossible things to do. Right. So I feel like the laughter allowed me to not take things so personally. Like when people say, ew, worms, oh no, and they start to tell me their tragic stories about worms, like one day worms or this or that, as if,
right.
Because worm is a bad word. So one of the challenges is that I have this heavy mission with the worms. I want to put worms in every living space. We were exporting our garbage to the US. I had a solution. Imagine if we weren't exporting all of that garbage, spending all of that money, our tax dollars, and just giving it to the US, you're welcome, but you're getting our garbage. It's a terrible transition. Yeah. It's a transaction. It's really a bad idea on both parts. There's only one planet. Right. So I'm very passionate about it. So in order to stay, when people are passionate about something that can potentially change the world if more people took it on, if they weren't creeped out by part of it.
Sure.
Right. So the laughter has helped me to overcome that. And now with the laughter, I've kind of flipped it on its head. With creativity, now I've just introduced the laughter first. I get people laughing. And then when you're laughing with someone, you're high vibe, you're more open. And then I can introduce the worms. Then I can slide the worms in there. Their guard is down. And it's not deceptive. It sounds that we're just saying that. It's like, that sounds deceptive.
No, but I understand. It makes a lot of sense that, when there is kind of that ick factor that you were talking about, to support someone to have some joy and then share with them when they're in that space of laughter. Like, here's this amazing thing. People are more receptive to hearing about it and incorporating it into their life.
Yeah. So the challenge of how do I get the message out? Laughter. It's just taken me a long time to figure this all out.
I love it though. I love that laughter is the solution, or one of the solutions. I think what a gift to give people in so many arenas, in so many ways. I'm so curious about you in your life. What's your earliest memory of being creative?
I would say when I was really young, a young girl, I'd love to just wake up and I would be singing. And that got snuffed out. I was thinking about this as I was preparing. I was I grew up in a traditional, like, do your role, be a good girl, do your part, stop singing because it's not useful. So creativity wasn't encouraged. I would say, other than singing when I was very young, my earliest memory is when I started my worm business. And when I was able to express myself more, actually moving away from family, like not just out of, home, but moving out of the city where they were. So I wasn't as affected by their influence of tradition, And it sounds severe. It wasn't. Not that I was hard done by. I was not. It was just one way that wasn't my way. I just feel like now I'm floating around in a little bubble, and opportunities abound because I'm so open and I'm trusting, and I look for opportunity. I recently heard, that the opportunity of a lifetime shows up every week.
Ooh, I love that.
Right. That's why I stopped talking. So it's like, you let that settle in for a second. It's like, what? That seems, I thought it came once. No, the opportunity, like, there's all different opportunities. It's just like, and everybody's had more than one opportunity of a lifetime where you go, oh, this thing happened. I met this person. And if you're open.
Right. Yeah. I think I appreciate your willingness to share how childhood was not a creative space for you. And it wasn't until you really stepped away from kind of the family narrative that you came into yourself more. And that is what really sparked your creativity. What do you think helped you kind of discover who you are?
Just having this bizarre mission of putting worms in every plate. Like, it's so weird. It's so odd. And, again, growing up in an uber clean environment at home, no, I didn't put worms, I wasn't playing with worms as a child and in the soil. And no, I don't know how I became this person, but once I did, it just allowed me to. And then I started my business, and the universe is really a jokester. I started my business, and 6 months later, my husband was downsized. He lost his job, and then it was just us two, selling worms. I was like so afraid. It's so funny because I got an article in the largest paper in Canada, and I phoned him up and I said, I got an article in the Toronto Star. And he said, that's great. I'm on my way home. I just got downsized. And I was like, like my heart was in my belly, like, oh my gosh, like now we have no income. And now I joke about it and I say, couldn't he just got downsized tomorrow so I could celebrate my article
Yeah.
in the Star? You know, I like, you just flow, I
Valid.
think,
And yeah.
right? I think for creativity, it really needs to flow. Whenever you're holding on too tight, the creativity can't flow. So I think, like, back to the laughter, is high vibration activity. And when you're laughing, you're not even thinking, but your brain is fully oxygenated, all those synapses, just like connection, fun in your beautiful brain, you know, your body's secreting the love drugs. I think creativity can flow then.
I love that. I love that you bring up the flow of creativity. And what do you think helped you find creative flow?
Having a purpose, having this passion, heartfelt mission. That's my business, it's my life, it's what I do, it's magic, you know, what, because the worms are taking the garbage, converting it. So it's a very, I think it's really important thing that we can all do. And so I chose media as my marketing strategy. Early on, you know, there was a garbage strike in 2002, and I took my worms on a road trip, and that's when I got my article in the Star. And I've been on the news. And so I think getting exposure allowed me to be creative. And I actually chase around the media at different events.
Nice. I love that. Just the image of taking your worms on a road trip is very creative and humorous. And I think, yeah, it invites curiosity. And I love that. I think it's such a gift that you get to share with people of, yeah, these aren't creepy crawlies. They're, you know, hard workers. They have a job that they're doing. I love that kind of shift in the narrative for them, and how you get to be really creative and how you market and how you shift that for other people.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. My favorite marketing tool is a bookworm bookmark.
I love it.
Super clever, right? So clever. And oh, it's just amazing. It's just like the whole thing. I feel like I'm floating around on a magic carpet ride. And I think that that's available to everybody, Mari. And I know that's what you do, is help people with tapping into their creativity, because once we do, we feel great because we're maybe on purpose, or we're just doing something that's really fun, something that jazzes us up. And we just like, we're just, you know, on cloud nine, like all those kind of expressions, because that's how we feel when we're creative. I know, you know, and when you see that, it must be so thrilling to work with people that maybe they're struggling, they're having whatever feelings they're feeling, and then, or they're stuck somewhere, and then you're able to somehow shuffle it out, and wow, a butterfly emerges. You know?
Absolutely. I love that you bring that up. I'm curious if you come across people in maybe some of your laughter yoga or even the worm business who may not feel very creative, or I couldn't possibly do that. How would you encourage them to find creativity in their life?
I would say look for something that makes you feel something. Like either it's it doesn't have to be either, anything. Something that fires you up, though, really something that you go, because you know, we can't have a basket of solution without problem. So if you see a problem and you're like, oh my gosh, I could do something there. It doesn't have to be life changing, you know, just something that is going to make a difference, something that makes something easier for somebody or for you. Do that. And because when you're doing something that makes you feel good, it's not like work at all. You're just like, it's almost like now I'm doing paid laughter gigs, and my laughter income has almost surpassed my worm income. And how fun is that? Like, we have this mental health crisis right now. So
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. I feel like so honored and grateful that I'm able to share this, my passion for laughing, because it helped me. I still do the worms, but we need laughter. I really want people to care about the planet. But if you're in a mental health crisis, like so afraid, anxious, frustrated, depressed, all of those low feeling vibrations, we can't care about the planet. We can't care about anything about getting out of where we are.
That's so true. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that and reminding us that, yes, we are in a mental health crisis. Part of the pandemic is that mental health challenges are very real for so many people. And thank you for supporting that with laughter. I think it's such a beautiful gift and wonderful. I just have one last question for you this evening. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Oh, that's a great question. It just feels light and fluffy, and sometimes it feels like butterflies in your belly when you're creating something new. It's a little bit scary. It's fun. It's you don't know if it's going to be well received or if it's going to work. And just like the butterfly, right? It goes into it's the caterpillar, and then it actually melts down into goo and then emerges as a butterfly. Like, what? It's awe-inspiring. And that, I think this creativity is in all of us if we allow it, if we are open. We're not taught to be open to creativity.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Absolutely. I would agree. But thank you for sharing what it feels like in your system to be creative. I love hearing how people experience creativity, how different, how similar, how unique it is for everyone. So thank you for sharing. If people wanted to learn more about your worm business, your laughter pieces, how could they go about doing that?
Yeah, so my worm website is cathyscomposters.com, and laughter is cathysclub.com. And those two are both, everything is there, and it's a beautiful thing.
Wonderful. I'll put that in show notes so people have easy access. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It's been so wonderful. And I just have loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed speaking with you as well. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.